Alrighty, back again today. We are going to do a weight loss method tier list, different things people do to lose weight. I'm going to rank them from S to F, what I think you should be doing, what I think you shouldn't be doing, and kind of why with everything. We are going to maybe go in order. I might kind of pick around where I want to go with everything today. We're going to just start in order, though. We're going to start with cardio. All right, cardio is the number one thing that I hear people do to lose weight. I am actually going to rank this like an A. We'll put this in A. The reason I think cardio is not an S, because cardio, you only burn calories while you're doing it. So if you go out for a run for like a mile or however, you're going to burn a good amount of calories, normally more than most things that you would do in an hour. But the problem with cardio is when you stop it, you're done losing weight. You're done burning calories. So if you go out and you go on like a 500 calorie run, you're not going to be burning calories past that. And every time that you want to lose weight and kind of burn more calories, you got to go for another run. So I think it's great when paired with other things as well. But when just looking at cardio as a whole to lose weight, I actually wouldn't put it in S tier. I would maybe even put it in a B. And we're going to rearrange things as we go on here, but so we're going to start that off with an A. All right, following that one, we have a step count. This is going to go in S. I didn't mean to put these back to back, but they are just kind of back to back. I would put a step count over raw cardio because the step count is something that's easier to hit day by day. So even if you don't have much time in your day and you just maybe got to do work or different things like that, you can get a walking pad, you can go out on a walk, you can make calls on there, and you can do that and while also going through other things during your day. If you're doing like a cardio bout, a cardio session, you normally can't take calls, do different things on your cardio run. You normally just got to focus on the running. And that being said, it's very hard to go on a cardio run or like a run or anything involving cardio 7 days a week. Rather than like a step count, you can do that in multiple ways throughout the week. So if you have something like an 8K to 10K step goal, you can then do that different ways throughout your week, different times, and it doesn't really have to be a super like excruciating or exerting task. So I would put that above cardio personally. But making sure that you have a goal for your step count rather than just going and counting your steps every day, trying to get something like 8 to 10K steps or maybe even 10 to 15 if you're rather an active person and you're trying to lose like the last little bit of body fat. I would put that in S tier. Following that, the sauna. All right, this is going to go in B tier. While I do believe the sauna is amazing, and I do the sauna anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes per session, the sauna is something to where like you don't really need it. It's hard to kind of get if you don't have a sauna at your house or if your gym doesn't really have a sauna, but it is something that you can use to burn a lot of calories, to sweat. I think the sauna is amazing for recovery. It would be an S tier for recovery, but this is not a recovery tier list. This is more of like a weight loss tier list. So I would put that down in B tier. Again, we might rearrange things. I might move that up, move that down. We are going to start with B tier though. Following that, we got drugs. All right. If you want to lose 100 pounds in 5 weeks, drugs. All right. You lose weight like that. Although it's not funny. I mean, drug addiction is terrible. Nothing to joke about. But it is something that a lot of people will do, and you'll see that they'll lose a lot of weight because of it. So that's going to go in F tier. You got to put something in F tier. So I had to put that in here. All right. Following that, the cold plunge. Specifically to lose weight. Like I want to go with the D because it's not like doing drugs, but I'm going to specifically put that in see, it's not even really, it's tough for me to even put it in D because you're really not getting any fat loss. I mean, so with the cold plunge, you kind of helping build brown fat, which is going to allow you to kind of withstand cold a little bit more. So it is something that, I mean, depending on if you're pairing it with other things, if you have to run in cold temperatures, that'll allow you to then withstand those cold temperatures even more. So in terms of pairing it with things, I can put it in a D, I assume, or I guess, just because it's something to where like it's not specifically helping you lose weight, but you can use it to then do the things that you have to do to lose weight more often, more efficiently. So I would put that in a D tier. I'm actually not the biggest fan of the cold plunge. Like, I do know that there is health benefits. It helps lower your cortisol. It helps kind of spike your adrenaline a little bit. It's very good for you. But there's a lot of misconception in terms of when to do the cold plunge. I have a lot of members at my gym specifically who will then cold plunge after the workout. And I really would never recommend that. So like cold is kind of directly inhibits muscle protein synthesis. So muscle protein synthesis is basically the amount of protein you eat, turning that into muscle after you're done working out based on the muscle tears that you created. Using a cold plunge right after you're done working out, or even like a few hours after, will actually slow down your recovery, slow down your muscle protein synthesis. I guess not recovery really, but it's going to slow down your muscle protein synthesis so that your body's not going to regenerate and rebuild that muscle as fast. Although, if you are somebody that can cold plunge early in the morning before your workout, I do really like it in that sense because you're going to wake yourself up. You're going to kind of get yourself started for the day. It is going to lower some of your cortisol when you're waking up, which is really good. It is going to help you wake up. You know, it's going to be awesome for that aspect of it. I'm not sure if I said that already, but that is something that can be used really good when kind of using it correctly. But there was this big cold plunge kind of kick going around maybe 2-ish years ago because of Andrew Huberman, and I love Andrew Huberman. Don't make this sound like as if I'm kind of bashing him. But that being said, for specifically if you're trying to build a little bit more muscle, the cold plunge is something you would want to time correctly. So in the beginning of your day or maybe towards later at night. But again, it wakes you up a little bit, so you don't necessarily want to do it later at night. Following that, calorie counting. All right, this is the GOAT, the Messi, the LeBron James. I was a Jordan guy, but I'm saying LeBron James because he's on the Sixers. This is the GOAT of weight loss. We're going to put that above a step count, counting your calories. You could really do no physical activity really at all. But if you were counting your calories and you had the correct calorie count, you can lose weight. This is something where you'd never have to step foot in the gym. You'd never have to do a bout of cardio. But if you controlled what goes into your mouth and you track that to make sure that you are properly assessing how many calories you're eating every day, you can lose weight. And that is something that I would say is the GOAT of losing weight. All right, the GOAT. Following that, intermittent fasting. This is tough because I'm going to actually move this one up after it because I want to talk about them back to back. Intermittent fasting. So in terms of losing weight, it is, I would say, probably about an A tier or a B tier. I wouldn't put it S just specifically because you don't have to do this. This is something that I have a lot of members at my gym. I don't really intermittent fast specifically regularly. I'll do it on occasion. But intermittent fasting, so the 16-8, whether you're eating for 16, taking off for 8, or intermittent fasting for 16, taking off for 8. This is good because it helps you kind of reset your metabolism. It allows your body to specifically distribute calories throughout the time that you're eating. And then when you're not eating, it will help recover. It'll help kind of digest a little bit better. Intermittent fasting is good for when you're trying to control your energy. If you're somebody who has energy crashes throughout the day, an 8 eating window and a 16-hour fasting window can actually be really good for you because we are in our highest energy state and most keen, most sharp state when you haven't had anything to eat. You have two systems in your body called rest and digest and fight or flight. You guys have probably heard of fight or flight before, but rest and digest. So if you ever eat a big meal and then afterwards you're sitting on the couch super tired, you want to fall asleep, it's because your body is digesting that food. It's using a lot of that using a lot of energy to digest your food. It makes you very lethargic. So a 16-8 intermittent fasting window will allow you to be rather sharp throughout that time you're not eating. But that being said, getting to the end of that window, you are going to get a little bit hungry. The reason I might even put this in B now, explaining it a little bit more. The reason I am going to put this in B actually is because you don't necessarily allow yourself to have a stable amount of energy throughout the day. Those 8 hours that you're eating, you have to get all of the calories in. That's kind of my main qualm with it. I lost my train of thought for a second. But the reason that I don't necessarily always recommend intermittent fasting to people that I train and different things like that is because it's tough to get the amount of calories you need in an 8-hour window. For me specifically, I'm eating a lot of calories at the moment. I'm trying to make sure my protein's really high. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting the sufficient amount of carbs, fats, and just eating it in 8 hours is tough. Like, I'm eating upwards of 3,000 calories every day. Eating 3,000 calories in just 8 hours it's doable, but it's something the way you'd have to be eating regularly. You have to be eating like every hour to get that amount of calories. If you're not eating as many calories, an intermittent fasting window could be something that you might want to try, because especially if you're experiencing some crashes throughout the day, that'll allow your body to stabilize the energy a little bit past your eating window. Those 8 hours though, since you are eating, you aren't going to be as sharp. Following that, this is the version that I would recommend over intermittent fasting. And the reason I kind of dropped that down to B is because I want to put this in A. This is an eating window. So every 2 to 3 hours, you'd want to be eating. The reason why I would have this above intermittent fasting is because it allows you to stabilize your energy every 2 to 3 hours by eating smaller meals, nothing too crazy, not like a McDonald's meal where you're getting in like 1,000 calories in one meal, but it's going to be something like 400 calories here, 200 calories for a snack, another 500 calories for a lunch, maybe another 400 for dinner, every 2 to 3 hours. This will allow you to not really go into much of that rest and digest period. It'll allow your body to stabilize the energy, digest it easier because you're not eating as much food. And depending on what your schedule is like, really both of these things are great. But depending on what your schedule is what you would really want to decide what you're doing of those two. The current American diet now is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Normally breakfast is at like 8 a.m. Lunch is at like 1 p.m. Honestly, maybe even 7 for breakfast. And then dinner's around like 6, 7, or 8. So you're getting like 4 to 5 hours between these eating windows. And if you're having a snack here and there, maybe you're having like a little snack between lunch and dinner or breakfast and lunch. If it's not something to where you're like stabilizing the amount of calories you're taking in, like you're having a random snack here, you're having a crazy amount of calories for dinner, this, that, and the other thing, that will cause you to crash here and there, rather than if you're eating every 2 to 3 hours and you're keeping at a controlled amount of calories, that will allow your energy to stabilize throughout the day and not really put you into like a terrible rest and digest. All right. Following that, the trend going around right now, the craze going around right now is these peptides. All right. Some of the ones that I'm a little bit more familiar with, Sermorelin or Sermorelin, if however you want to pronounce it. Retatrutide, or I don't know how to specifically pronounce that one. I think GHK is another one. And then GHK copper. So I might go on a little rant here. So peptides are both good and bad. If you have diabetes, fantastic, right? This is something that can help you out. This will help stabilize a little bit more of your glucose response, insulin response, different things like that. So I've been doing a little bit more research on peptides. I was a little bit of a peptide hater at the start because, you're not going to know what it does to your body, this, that, or the other thing. And there's no long-term studies, blah, 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 blah. But the thing about peptides that I have been kind of learning more about recently is there's some good ones and some bad ones. One specifically that I've done a lot of research on is Sermorelin or Sermorelin. That peptide and a few other ones, I think GHK copper might be the same way. Don't quote me on that though. They work on your mitochondria's kind of threshold, right? So there's ones like retatrutide. I believe retatrutide is the opposite of Sermorelin. So Sermorelin, for example, so what these peptides do is they try and increase your mitochondria rate, the amount of kind of fuel that your mitochondria can produce, the amount of energy that your mitochondria can produce, so that you can get back to how you were in your 20s, in your younger age, that mitochondria function. Ones like Sermorelin, for example, that I said that I've been doing a little bit more research on, that will only go as high as, for my understanding currently, again, everything I say is subject to change, but from what I've learned, it'll only go on the max capacity of your mitochondria. So if you're somebody in like their 50s, maybe even like late 60s or late 50s into the 60s, maybe even in the 40s, depending on your hormones and your testosterone and things like that, and your oh my God, I'm drawing your testosterone and different things like that. It will be good for you. It can help your mitochondria get back to back to when it was in its 20s, but it'll help it produce a little bit more. It'll help it kind of run a little bit cleaner process. And with the Semarelin, it caps at what your mitochondria can do. So if you're taking Semarelin or Sermorelin, it'll only produce as much mitochondria function as your mitochondria can produce. Rather than something like retatrutide, it'll really like boost your mitochondria. Yeah. And I feel like that's why you see but when it boosts your mitochondria, it'll go above your mitochondria function currently. So if you, let's say these are terrible numbers and this has no relevance to the actual numbers, but let's say your mitochondria currently is producing a 6 out of 10. Semarelin or 6 out of 8, let's say, because you're a little bit older, you're not producing 10 out of 10 mitochondria anymore. This will boost your mitochondrial function back to that 8 out of 8. But the problem is for things like retatrutide, that'll put your mitochondria at a 10 out of 8. And while that's fantastic for the goals that you want to achieve and it's going to help you get there faster, the problem with that is it kind of puts your mitochondria into a high functioning state for a long period of time. And this is where I kind of go into the thought of there's no long-term studies because we don't really know what that does to your mitochondria in the sense of like, you don't really know if it's going to kill it, if it's going to tire it out, if it's going to, maybe it does make it better, but this is something to where it overloads the system more than the system can handle. And from general science and general things, if you think about your computer, if you're running 100 different things at once, that computer is it's going to start to get hot. It's going to start to overheat. It's going to start to lag a little bit. So with retatrutide and different ones like that, you don't necessarily know what it's going to do to those mitochondria. And the mitochondria is the number one thing that you want to preserve when going into your later stages of life. When your mitochondria function just kind of takes a dip and just starts going down, your hormones are thrown off, your body's ability to regulate glucose, regulate weight, build muscle, different things like that. It all kind of collapses. So peptides, just to kind of make a long story short, I'm gonna put them in C, because maybe I do like a peptide tier list in the sense of what one, after I learn a lot more about it, in the sense of what ones that I would say you could take versus can't take. But that being said, like, it is something to where it differs, right? Like if you're taking retatrutide versus Semarelin, those, even though they are both peptides, one is going to for weight loss, retatrutide helps. It does help. It does help. I've seen somebody at Fusion specifically that I used to talk to in the sauna, no lie, in the last 5 months, dropped I think 70 to 80 pounds on retatrutide. And power to them. They're now looking and living how they want to, but their mitochondria is just through the roof. And he did mention that there has been a few side effects in the sense of he gets injured a little bit easier. But that being said, his recovery is super quick. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword in the sense of how many years do you have left? And do you want to get to your goal super fast with that risk of possibly kind of overloading that? Rather than something like Semarelin, it seems like it's a lot more I guess safe in the simplest way to put it. But that being said, I'm going to put them in a C. I had a big rant there. Following that, all right, another one of the GOATs, another S tier. We have 2 S tiers in a row here coming up. But drinking water. All right, our body is, I think, 80% water, 70% water, 80% water. You need to drink water. I've had somebody at my gym specifically send me her food every single day. She's eating perfect. She's eating great. She's working out. She's taking steps. She's doing this. She would drink a bottle of water and then switch to Diet Coke. If you are not drinking water, your body is not going to run these processes correctly. All right. This is something where everything you do requires water. ATP, that's energy, what your body body creates energy, like when it creates energy, it's ATP. That is made from water. If you're tired a lot, if you don't drink a lot of water, you're going to experience things like you're tired a lot. Your body's not going to lose weight. You're not going to build muscle. You need water for everything. Everybody should be drinking a minimum of 80 ounces of water every single day, let alone up to a gallon. All right, I tell like everybody that I train, a gallon of water. You need a gallon of water. Water is so important. All right. Following that, weight training. Weight training. Another goat. All right. Let's order these correctly. So we'll go right there. All right. I put water above weight training because you need water even if you're counting your calories. But weight training, you don't need to weight train to lose weight. Don't get me wrong. But when you weight train, you burn more calories regularly. You burn more calories consistently. All right. When you increase your muscle mass, you have something called a resting metabolic rate. A resting metabolic rate is how many calories you burn at rest. If you laid in bed for 24 hours to regulate your heartbeat, your breathing, your temperature, it would cost you, let's say, 1,400 calories. I think an average for women is like 12 to 1,400. Excuse me. An average for men is around like 15 to even 2,000, depending on your height and weight. When you weight train, when you increase your muscle mass, that number goes up. It takes more calories to maintain muscle mass than it does to maintain body fat. And that sounds crazy to hear. But that being said, this is something that you can do to then help raise how many calories you burn at rest, how many calories you burn when you sleep, how many calories you burn when you walk, how many calories you burn when you talk. All right. This is something that is fantastic. And not only that, when you weight train, you're burning calories for another 30 minutes to an hour and a half after you weight train. So if you hit a 45-minute weight training bout, you are then going to be burning calories for another 30 minutes to an hour and a half of what you did. So this is something that is an S tier. I mean, I guess I could put it A because it's not needed and it's not necessary, but it is the best thing that you can do for your body to then lose weight and long-term keep it off. The reason why you might be doing cardio a lot and you lose weight and then, a week goes by and, I put that weight right back on, because cardio doesn't overall affect how many calories you burn at rest, while weight training does. If you're weight training and you're increasing your muscle mass, even if you have a bad week, but you have more muscle mass than the week you did before, you're going to be burning more calories over long term, and you're not going to put that weight on as fast unless you completely go off. And another good thing about it is muscles have memory. If you're somebody who's been in the gym before and you've been in the gym a lot and you take a break off and you're like, oh my God, it's going to take so long to get back. It normally only takes you a third, sometimes even less than that, half to a third, and sometimes even less than that, depending on how long you've been weight training, to get that back, to get that strength back, that muscle mass back, that power back, different things like that. So weight training to me is an S. Forgot to put one in here, so we're going to do a little cut at the end and I'll come back with that. And it's probably better that I didn't put this in here, and that one in here, because I can go through a very in-depth, very important one as well. Following that, all right, I got some other activities in here. That was not for weight training. That is weight training. That one is going to be a different one, but we'll just apply everything I just said to that picture. Following that, yoga. All right, yoga is going to be it's either B or C tier. I'll put it in B tier because I feel like I can't put yoga above the sauna. Yoga. All right, this is something that I have a lot of members that do yoga as well as weight training. Yoga is great for flexibility, great for long-term longevity, great for burning calories. And depending on what type of yoga you do, if you do hot yoga, it'll help you burn even more calories. I would put this, I'd maybe even put this in A, honestly, because it is very good for your body in terms of getting more flexible. It allows you to do more things. You can create muscle tears with yoga, depending on how much you can stretch your muscles and different things like that. Stretching is a big part of weightlifting as well, like stretching through the muscle. I'm gonna leave it in B, honestly. But yeah, yoga is definitely a good kind of alternative to help from weight lossing. You cannot compare yoga and weight lossing. They're two different things, two different methods, two different purposes. But you can use yoga to lose weight if you are pairing it with something else. Anything that's not in S, you kind of have to pair with something else to then get that same weight loss effect as something in S per se. Following that, swimming. I'm going to put swimming above yoga. I'm even going to put it in A tier. I'll put it under cardio. I might even put it above cardio, because the reason I would say that is because swimming is something that you lose some of your body weight per se when you do, because of buoyancy, because of the water kind of takes some of the weight off of you. You're able to do a little bit more. So somebody who isn't particularly able to run, but then can go and swim, I'm putting this above cardio. For that exact reason. So somebody, if you are not big into cardio, if you can't do cardio, if you feel like, oh my God, I'm too heavy, I can't go through all this cardio, this is something to where you can still get in the pool, still move around, I can't put it above cardio. All right, but this is something that's still very effective. All right, if you're going on regular swims, this is going to help your muscles a little bit. Use a lot of your back, your lats, your scap, some of your shoulders and different things like that. But you can use this in the same thought process as cardio. I've thought a little bit myself on putting it above or below cardio, because if you're somebody, again, who is a little bit heavier in weight and you're like, I can't do cardio, I wouldn't tell you to go swimming. I would tell you to start counting your calories, counting your steps, and then weight training. But that being said, it's a mixture between the two. I just think if I put swimming above cardio, all the cardio people are like, are you fucking kidding me? But that being said, it's kind of like you can pick. Following that, HIIT training or CrossFit training. All right. I got mixed emotions on CrossFit. All right. I'm going to put this in the A. All right. I am going to put it above cardio. I'm not putting it in S because I do not agree with fast weight training. For me specifically, what I believe in terms of my philosophy of building muscle, building kind of muscle mass, losing weight, you have to lift slow. It is time under tension. That's my kind of philosophy with it. You do have to make sure your muscles are getting enough time under tension, enough mechanical tension for different things for them to create tears, to really kind of create more muscle mass. But that being said, you are still using weights. You can still create muscle mass. You can still make muscle tears. But my problem with CrossFit is like everybody who comes to my gym from a CrossFit gym, or anybody that I've worked with after they've been to a CrossFit gym, they're like, yeah, I got a bad shoulder, a bad elbow, a bad knee, a bad back. Like, I don't agree with fast weight training. Although I do know a lot of people who are very big into CrossFit, into fast weight training. It's great for power. But if you're specifically trying to lose weight, power shouldn't be your main concern. If you're somebody who's already fit, power and fast weight training, you can get a benefit from that. But if you're somebody who is just starting out and you're looking to lose weight, you should not, this sounds terrible to all the people that I know that like CrossFit, but you shouldn't start with CrossFit. Like, you're not going to be able to create muscle tears, in my opinion, sufficiently as you would with weight training. And that being said, you have a higher risk for injury. Like, if you're just starting out and they're telling you to do a burpee, then jump over this rope and then grab this and do that. Like, one, it's very intimidating to start, so a lot of people just end up doing it for a little bit and quitting. And two, you don't have the mind-muscle connection or the motor recruitment to then, which is like your ability to then call on your muscles to do these certain things, to be able to do all of that without possibly getting injured. And like, the number one thing, in my opinion, is that you're able to stay in the gym. Like, if you do a hard 6 weeks and then you end up messing up your back and then you're out for 3 months, like, what are we talking about? You really didn't, you possibly could have made some progress, but you are going to regress a little bit because of that injury. So I'm not a big fan of CrossFit, although I do know that there is benefits of it. Following that, sports. All right, sports. Depending on what sport you play, it can be great. It's a great way to get out and get active. It's a great way to burn some calories. Normally, sports are longer than a weight training session would be. So if you're playing something like soccer, basketball, football, baseball, I'm going to reserve my thoughts on baseball. You don't burn a lot of the time. You're just sitting in the outfield, maybe running for the ball a little bit, hitting the ball with the bat, running to a base. So I don't really kind of agree with in terms of the weight loss thought process with that. But the other three and even other things, pickleball is a great one. That's a big sport that's been kind of up on the rise throughout America here. This can be a great way to lose weight. I'm going to put this in C tier. Because one, I can't put it above peptides. I mean, I wouldn't recommend somebody go and take peptides over go and start an activity that'll keep you active. But that being said, this is for weight loss. So if you're doing normally sports are like once or twice a week, unless you're a kid and you're training and you're practicing and then you're going to games and things like that. You normally only see, like, I bowl, and bowling's not a great weight loss sport, but that being said, it still gets you active. I'm normally at bowling for like 3 hours. If I was in the gym for 3 hours, something's wrong. You got to come check on me because I'm dead in the sauna probably. But it is a great way to kind of get active with your friends, kind of keep a regular routine with things. And when people struggle to kind of do things regularly, I do recommend in the sense of like, what sports do you like playing? Go out to if you liked playing basketball, go out to the basketball court over in your local park and shoot some hoops. That'll get you active. Go and shoot the soccer, hit the soccer ball around a little bit. Go play pickleball at Dill Dinkers. Like, those are different things that you can do that will help you to lose weight and then keep you on a regular schedule. All right, I wanted to put this last one in here, because I get this kind of comment a lot from newcomers in my gym. Honestly, within the last year, it's been less. In my first 2 years at my gym, when signing people up, this was something that I had to fight at, like, damn near 7 out of 10 times when people come to the gym, and I'm throwing it right in F. All right, the keto diet. All right, the problem with the keto diet, so and I'm going to kind of touch on everything here with this. The keto diet is having no carbs in your day, having more fats throughout your diet, so that your body can use body fat for fuel instead of carbs. While that sounds great and everything, the problem with this is that fat isn't necessarily a sustainable energy source, right? Like, it's a slow digesting energy source. So if you have some fats, you're not going to feel as energized as if you were to have some carbs. And not only that too, a lot of the time when I have people that come to me that were previously on the keto diet, the second they implement carbs back into their diet, they just gain all the weight back. And if you're somebody who like hates carbs and you like never want to have a carb again, I guess the keto diet's okay, but I still don't necessarily recommend that, because if you're somebody who wants to get into weight training more intensely, that's going to that's not going to be great for you, because you want some carbs before you train. You want something to help spike your energy before you train. So one, you can work a little harder. And two, you're not going to get injured. I know a lot of people that's coming to my gym that used to be on the keto diet, and like their bodies were like breaking down because you only get so much energy out of, like, fats are 9 calories per gram rather than carbs are 4. So if you're eating like a little bit of peanut butter, that might be the same as eating like a whole apple and banana. And an apple and banana is going to give you like 4 times the amount of energy than some peanut butter would. So you're getting less amount of food in your diet, less amount of nutrient dense food in your diet, less amount of energy in your diet. And that being said, you don't get to eat as much. So you feel like you're like really eating nothing. So, but that being said, all right, there's always a caveat. Everything on here has a caveat because everything can be used in a good sense. Ketosis. That's what the keto diet is kind of like prioritized on. So ketosis, like I said, is when your body switches from carbs to fat for its fuel. The process of ketosis is amazing for you. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're eating a regular balanced diet and you just cut carbs out of dinner, you need to be fasted from carbs from anywhere to 8 to 12 hours, I believe it is, or maybe even 16 for ketosis to really, really kick in. So if you're having no carbs at dinner, let's say your last carb, I would say no carbs after lunch, sorry. If you're having your last carb at lunch, and let's say lunch is around 2 o'clock, by maximum, like 2 p.m., by maximum, your body's going to be burning body fat by 16 hours by 6 a.m. in the morning. And if you even, let's say you eat breakfast at 8 and you have some carbs, you have 2 full hours of your body burning body fat that you don't really need energy for. So if you're using the process of ketosis as a way to then implement into your regular diet, I would move this up to A, to be honest. But if you're talking the regular keto diet, that shit's an F, not gonna lie. All right, and last but not least, all right, this might be the GOAT of weight loss. Sleeping. All right, I am going to put this above calorie counting, to be honest, because I have members who don't calorie count, but they still lose weight. But you know what they do? They sleep 6 to 8 hours every single night. You have to sleep. And that being said, I have members who do calorie count, but don't sleep, and they don't lose any weight. You have to sleep. If you think about kids, all right, they make all their changes when they sleep. You know, they'll go into REM sleep in the middle of like a soccer game on a Thursday, right? Like while their siblings are playing. I have a brother who I've seen fall asleep and just out like that, sleeping like a baby, dreaming. You have to sleep. If you want your body to build muscle, lose weight, recover, anything, you have to sleep. This is the number one important thing. This is something that I even struggle with. You have to sleep. You have to sleep. You have to sleep. I'll say it 10 times. All right. If you do not sleep, your body is going to hold on to more body fat, hold on to more water, hold on or not create any muscle mass. Going back to what I said earlier, ATP is created from water. All right. If you don't sleep and you don't have enough energy to get you through your day, your body's going to hold on to that water so it can create that extra energy that you need because you didn't sleep. All right. That being said, if you didn't sleep and you're hurting, if you have an injury, your body cannot send nutrients to that injury. All right. Your body cares about one thing: surviving its day. All right. It doesn't care what you want to look like. It doesn't care what you're doing. All right. If you don't go to sleep, if you're not sleeping 6 to 8 hours, if you're not getting REM sleep, if you're not dreaming, you don't have to dream. Not everybody dreams, but that's a good sign of REM sleep. If you are not sleeping enough in your day, your body is not going to be able to do any of these processes. All right. And I have members who are so good with everything, but they sleep like 4 hours. Like all your body is doing in that time is just getting you ready for the next day. It's trying to replenish its energy stores. You're not going to recover injuries. You're not going to build muscle mass. You're not going to lose weight, right? Like this is something that, again, this is the GOAT. This is the true GOAT right here. This is the Ronaldo and Michael Jordan of, as I would say, I know it's definitely Messi, and I would say Messi and Jordan still, but it's the GOAT of losing weight. All right. You could be doing, I still would put maybe calorie counting and sleeping are like the Michael Jordan and LeBron kind of battling it out for the GOAT. But that being said, I have members who don't calorie count. They eat a little bit right and sleep a good amount and they'll lose weight. And I have a lot of members who calorie count and don't sleep, but so they just don't lose any weight. They don't build any muscle mass. Their body doesn't change. They just stay in the same place for however long. All right. So sleep is the number one important thing for weight loss, recovery, muscle build, you name it. Thanks for watching, guys. This was my longest video yet. I hope you guys enjoyed. And this is the tier list for weight loss. Let me know if you'd like to see more tier lists. I hope you have a great day. Like and subscribe.